Ethan Carter sat alone in his small apartment, staring at the blinking cursor on his laptop screen. A half-finished research paper lay open, untouched for hours. His coffee had gone cold. Outside, the neon lights of the city flickered against the dark sky, and the sound of distant traffic filled the silence. He sighed. Once, he had been full of dreams of exploring new worlds, making groundbreaking discoveries, and proving that humanity had a future among the stars. But after years of research, after rejection from interstellar projects, all that remained was a quiet bitterness. A sudden knock at the door made him jump. Ethan frowned. He wasn't expecting anyone. He hesitated for a moment, then stood up and opened the door. A girl stood there, unlike anyone he had ever seen. She was tall and elegant, with skin that shimmered faintly under the dim hallway light. Her silver blue hair cascaded over her shoulders, and her eyes, deep violet, glowing softly, held an intensity that sent a chill down Ethan's spine. She was dressed in strange, flowing garments that seemed to shift like liquid fabric. "Dr. Ethan Carter?" she asked, her voice smooth yet firm. Ethan blinked. "Who are you?" She stepped forward, looking around as if to check if anyone was watching. Then, in a hushed voice, she said, "My name is Elara. I have come to offer you a choice." Ethan crossed his arms, suddenly wary. "A choice?" Elara nodded. "A choice that will change your life forever." The impossible offer. Ethan studied her, trying to decide if she was some kind of elaborate prank. But there was something undeniably otherworldly about her. "Look, if you're selling something, I'm not interested," he said, half turning to shut the door. "Wait." Elara raised a hand, and the air around her shimmered. For a brief moment, the hallway walls seemed to dissolve into a vast, starry expanse. Ethan gasped, stumbling backward. Planets, nebulae, and floating cities stretched out before him, more beautiful than anything he had ever seen. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the vision vanished, and he was back in his apartment. His heart pounded. What was that? "A glimpse of my world," Elara said. "Silfarian, a place where war, hunger, and suffering do not exist. A place where knowledge has no limits. And I want to take you there." Ethan shook his head, trying to process what had just happened. "This is insane." "Why me?" Elara tilted her head. "Because you are one of the few who still believes humanity can be more, that it can rise beyond its flaws. But your world is trapped, held back by greed, conflict, and ignorance. You are wasting your potential here, Ethan." Her words struck deeper than he wanted to admit. "And what happens if I say yes?" he asked slowly. "If you accept, you will leave Earth behind. You will witness wonders beyond imagination. But there is one condition. You can never return. Doubt and curiosity." Ethan felt his throat go dry. Leave Earth. Forever. The idea of escaping his mundane life was tempting, but something about this felt wrong. "You expect me to just leave everything behind? My research, my work, my—" He stopped, realizing he didn't have much tying him to Earth anymore. His parents had passed away years ago. His colleagues barely spoke to him outside of professional settings. He had no close friends, no one waiting for him. Elara watched him carefully. "Your world is on a path of self-destruction, Ethan, but you don't have to be part of it. I am offering you freedom." Ethan hesitated. He had spent his whole life chasing the stars. Now, the stars had come to him. "Why should I trust you?" he asked at last. Elara took a step closer. "Because I have been watching you for a long time. I know your heart still longs for discovery, for purpose. And because—" She hesitated, then added softly, "I believe you are meant for something greater." Ethan searched her face, looking for deception, but all he saw was sincerity. He took a slow breath. "I need time to think," he said. Elara nodded. "You have until sunrise. After that, the choice will be gone." The longest night. As soon as she left, Ethan locked the door and leaned against it, exhaling sharply. His mind raced. Was this real? Could he trust her? He paced around his apartment, looking at the life he had built for himself. The cluttered desk, the stacks of books, the unanswered messages on his phone. It all felt small. But to leave everything behind, to never see Earth again. As the night stretched on, Ethan found himself staring out of his window, the stars twinkling in the vast sky. He had always dreamed of reaching them. Now he had the chance. But was he ready to pay the price? The clock ticked on, and sunrise drew closer. He had to decide. Ethan Carter barely slept that night. He sat on his couch, staring at the fading darkness outside his window. The city was waking up, but his mind was still lost in the conversation with Alara, a choice that would change his life forever. Stay on Earth, stuck in a life that felt meaningless, or leave everything behind and step into a world beyond his imagination. By the time the first rays of sunlight touched the horizon, Ethan had made his decision. He was going to see Silfarian, a journey into the unknown. At exactly dawn, a soft knock echoed at his door. Ethan opened it to find Alara standing there, her glowing violet eyes filled with quiet expectation. "You have chosen," she said. It wasn't a question. Ethan swallowed. "I want to see it. Your world. But I haven't agreed to stay." Alara gave a small, knowing smile. "Come with me." She extended her hand. Ethan hesitated only for a second before grasping it. The moment their fingers touched, the air around them shimmered. A strange warmth spread through his body, and suddenly, the world around him blurred. For a split second, he felt weightless. The sounds of the city vanish, replaced by absolute silence. Then, in an instant, everything changed. Arrival on Silfarian. When Ethan's vision cleared, he found himself standing on what looked like a floating platform made of crystalline material. Below him stretched an endless landscape, vast green fields, shimmering silver rivers, and glowing cities that floated above the land like islands in the sky. The air smelled impossibly fresh, and the sky was a breathtaking mixture of deep blue and streaks of violet. He turned in awe. This is real. Alara stood beside him, watching his reaction. "Yes, welcome to Silfarian." Ethan's mind struggled to process what he was seeing. The cities were unlike anything he had imagined. Towering spires made of translucent material pulsed with light, as if alive. Bridges of pure energy connected floating structures, and strange flying creatures with iridescent wings soared gracefully between them. People, if that's what they were, moved through the air effortlessly, their forms sleek and elegant. They wore flowing robes similar to Alara's, and their movements were impossibly smooth, as if gravity barely affected them. "How is this possible?" Ethan breathed. Alara gestured toward the landscape. "Our technology and nature are in perfect balance. We do not take more than we need. There is no war, no hunger, no suffering." Ethan felt a pang in his chest. Earth was nothing like this. His world was full of pollution, corruption, and conflict. Here, everything was perfect. "Come," Alara said. "Let me show you more." The city of light. They moved effortlessly through the sky, carried by an invisible force. Ethan had no idea how it worked, but the feeling was exhilarating, like floating through a dream. They arrived at a grand structure, a temple-like building surrounded by cascading waterfalls that shimmered with unnatural colors. Inside, the walls were made of a smooth, glass-like substance, displaying shifting patterns of stars and galaxies. "This is the sanctum of knowledge," Alara explained. "Every discovery, every piece of wisdom ever found is stored here. Nothing is lost. We remember everything." Ethan's heart pounded with excitement. The idea of infinite knowledge, preserved and shared freely. It was everything. A group of Silfari approached. Their faces were serene, their eyes glowing with soft golden light. One of them, a tall figure with silver markings on their skins, spoke. "Alara, is this the human you spoke of?" "Yes," she replied. "This is Ethan Carter." The Scifi leader studied him. "You are honored to stand here, human. Few are given this chance." Ethan nodded, still overwhelmed. I don't know what to say. This is incredible." The leader's gaze lingered on him for a moment before turning to Alara. "Has he accepted the offer?" "Not yet," Alara said calmly. "He is here to see, to understand." The leader nodded. "Then let him see." A whisper of doubt. As the tour continued, Ethan was shown wonders beyond his wildest dreams. Machines that healed injuries in seconds. Gardens that grew food without ever depleting the land. Cities powered by energy sources he couldn't begin to understand. Everything seemed perfect. And yet, something in the back of his mind nagged at him. There were no signs of struggle, no signs of conflict. Every Scifi he met was polite, peaceful, and intelligent, but none of them showed strong emotions. No excitement, no frustration, no laughter. It was unnatural. Ethan turned to Alara. "Your people, they don't seem to feel things the way humans do." Alara's expression didn't change. Emotions are unpredictable. They create conflict, suffering. We have learned to control them. Ethan frowned. Control them, or erase them. Alara hesitated for the first time. We evolved beyond the need for chaos. A chill ran down Ethan's spine. Was that what they saw in humanity? Chaos. For the first time since arriving, doubt crept into his heart. Everything here was beautiful. Perfect. Too perfect. The unsettling truth. As the sun began to set over Scifi, Ethan stood at the edge of a floating garden, staring at the glowing horizon. The world was magnificent, and yet something inside him whispered that something was missing. He turned to Alara. "I need to know the truth. Why me? Why now?" Alara looked at him, her violet eyes unreadable. Then she spoke softly. "Because your people were once given a choice, Ethan, and they refused. Now we offer it again, to you." Ethan's breath caught. "What do you mean? What happened to the last humans who were given this choice?" Alara's expression darkened slightly. "They chose the wrong path, and they paid the price." Ethan felt a shiver run through him. Something was very wrong here. And now he was caught in the middle of it. Ethan Carter stood at the edge of the floating garden, his heart pounding. Alara's words echoed in his mind. "Because your people were once given a choice, Ethan, and they refused. Now we offer it again, to you." What did that mean? What had happened to the humans who came before him? He turned to Alara, searching her face for answers. "What do you mean by that? When did humans get this choice before?" Alara hesitated. For the first time since he had met her, she looked unsure, as if she had said too much. "It is not something we usually speak of." "But you just told me," Ethan pushed. "So tell me everything." Alara glanced around. The glowing city, the peaceful streets, the floating gardens, all of it seemed so perfect. But now Ethan wasn't sure if it was real. She took a slow breath. "Come with me." The forbidden archives. Alara led him through the shimmering streets, past towering structures that pulsed with energy. They moved silently, their feet barely touching the ground. They reached a massive domed building at the edge of the city. Unlike the other structures, this one was different. It was darker, its surface smooth like obsidian, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. "This is the Vault of Echoes," Alara said softly. "It holds memories of the past, the ones we do not share freely." Ethan's stomach tightened. "And you're going to show me?" Alara nodded. "Yes, but once you see it, you cannot unsee it." She placed her hand on the door, and it glowed with golden energy. The structure shifted, opening with a deep hum. Inside, the air was cool, and strange floating symbols danced in the darkness. Alara guided him to a platform in the center of the room. Above it, a swirling orb of light hovered, pulsing with energy. "This is a memory archive," Alara explained. "It holds the truth." She reached out, touching the light. The air crackled. Then the room around them vanished, replaced by a vision from the past. The first contact. Ethan found himself standing in a massive hall, watching a scene unfold before him. He wasn't really there. He was an observer, like watching a holographic recording. In front of him stood humans. Not just one, but a group of them. Scientists, leaders, explorers. They looked like people from Earth, but their clothing was old, worn like something from centuries ago. And across from them stood the Scifi, regal and emotionless, just as they were now. "We offer you paradise," a Scifi leader said in the vision. "A place without war, without suffering. Join us, and you will never know pain again." One of the human leaders stepped forward. "And what do you ask in return?" The Scifi leader's glowing eyes did not waver. "Only your submission to our ways. Your emotions, your conflicts, they are dangerous. We ask that you evolve beyond them. Let us guide you to perfection." Ethan's breath caught in his throat. The humans in the vision looked at one another. Some hesitated, uncertain. But then the leader spoke. "We cannot accept that. We are flawed, yes. But our struggles, our emotions, they make us human. We will not trade them for perfection." The Scifi leader's gaze darkened. "Then you choose chaos." The vision shifted. Ethan saw battles, not of war, but of manipulation. Earth was thrown into centuries of conflict, disasters, division. It was subtle, like pulling strings from the shadows. And then the vision ended. Ethan was back in the vault of echoes, breathing hard. You did this," he whispered, staring at Alara. She looked away. "We did what was necessary. Humanity was not ready." Ethan clenched his fists. "You made Earth suffer because we refused to become like you." Alara's voice was quiet. "Your people were unpredictable. They could create wonders, but also destruction. We believed that without guidance, you would destroy yourselves." Ethan shook his head. "You didn't give us a chance to find our own path." Alara met his gaze, and for the first time, he saw something in her eyes. Doubt. The unraveling. Ethan turned away, his mind racing. This was why Alara had brought him here. This was the real choice. Not just for him. For all of humanity. "You want me to join you," he said, his voice steady. "To accept this perfect world and leave Earth behind. But what happens to Earth if I refuse?" Alara hesitated. "Nothing will change." Ethan narrowed his eyes. "Nothing, or you'll keep interfering. Keep pulling the strings." Silence. He exhaled sharply. "You don't trust us. But maybe we don't trust you either." Alara looked troubled. "If you stay, you would never have to worry about Earth's struggles again. You would be free." Ethan let out a bitter laugh. "Free? Free to be emotionless. Free to be controlled." Alara stepped closer. "We only wish to help you evolve beyond suffering." Ethan met her gaze. "And what if suffering is part of what makes us human?" For a moment, Alara didn't respond. Ethan turned away, his decision growing clearer. Maybe Earth was flawed. Maybe humanity wasn't perfect. But it was real, and he wasn't sure he was ready to give that up. The escape plan. As they left the vault, Ethan knew one thing for certain. He couldn't stay here. He had to return to Earth. But how? Alara had said no one who came here could return. But what if that wasn't true? What if there was a way? He had to find it. Even if it meant going against the Scifi. Even if it meant standing alone. Because if humanity's fate was still being controlled, someone had to stop it. And that someone might just be him. Ethan Carter walked through the glowing streets of Scifi, his mind racing. The truth weighed heavily on him. The Scifi had been controlling humanity from the shadows, shaping Earth's history because they believed humans were too emotional, too unpredictable. They had offered him a life here, perfect, peaceful, and without struggle. But at what cost? He knew his answer now. He had to leave. He had to return to Earth. But there was one problem. No one who came here was allowed to leave. A world that listens. As he moved through the city, Ethan noticed something strange. The Scifi walked in perfect harmony, silent, graceful, never showing any strong emotions. It was peaceful, yes, but unnatural. For the first time, he felt like an outsider, like an intruder in a world that didn't belong to him. And maybe he didn't belong here. He turned a corner and found himself at the edge of the city. Before him stretched a massive energy barrier, a shimmering wall of golden light that pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. Beyond it, the floating islands of Scifi drifted endlessly. This must be the way out, he whispered to himself. But how could he pass through? A dangerous idea. You are troubled. Alara's voice came from behind him. Ethan turned, surprised to see her standing there. Unlike the other Scifi, there was something different about Alara. She wasn't as distant. She had shown curiosity, doubt. Maybe, just maybe, she could help him. I want to go back, Ethan said firmly. To Earth. Alara's expression didn't change. That is not possible. Why? Ethan challenged. You brought me here. You can send me back. She hesitated. No one who enters Scifi ever leaves. It is for your own good. Ethan took a step closer. You don't believe that, do you? Alara looked away. You brought me here because you thought I could accept this world, Ethan continued. But I can't. And I think you're starting to see why. Alara's hands clenched slightly. You are different from the others. Because I ask questions. Ethan shook his head. Because I still feel. Alara sighed, her gaze softening. It is true that I wonder. I have seen your world, Ethan. I have seen its beauty and its chaos, and I have always believed we were right to guide humanity away from destruction. Ethan nodded. But what if you were wrong? Silence stretched between them. Then, finally, Alara whispered, if you truly wish to leave, I may know a way. The forbidden portal. Alara led Ethan through the city, avoiding the main streets. They moved quickly, taking hidden paths through towering structures and floating bridges. Where are we going? Ethan asked. There is a place, Alara said. An old gateway. It was sealed long ago. But if it still functions, it may be your only way back. Hope flickered inside Ethan. They reached a hidden chamber beneath one of the city's great spires. Inside, a massive circular structure stood, covered in ancient symbols. It looked like a portal, dormant but powerful. This is the Celestial Gate, Alara said. It was once used to travel between worlds, but it has been silent for centuries. Ethan stepped forward, running his hand over the smooth surface. Can we activate it? Alara hesitated. It is forbidden. Then why did you bring me here? Ethan pressed. You want to know, don't you? If I can leave, if humans still have the right to make their own choices. Alara's glowing eyes met his, and for the first time, she looked human. Step back, she said. She raised her hands, and a wave of energy pulsed through the air. The symbols on the portal flickered, then began to glow. The ground trembled, and the circular structure came to life. A swirling vortex of light opened before them. It works, Ethan breathed. Alara's expression was unreadable. Once you step through, you may never return. Ethan hesitated. He had seen incredible things here, a world of peace, of knowledge, but he had also seen the cost of perfection. He thought of Earth, flawed, chaotic, alive, and he knew where he belonged. Taking a deep breath, he turned to Alara. Come with me. She blinked in surprise. What? Come with me, Ethan repeated. You said you wonder about humanity. What if you're wrong about us? What if there's something you still don't understand? Alara looked at the portal, then back at Ethan. A storm of emotions flickered in her glowing eyes. I cannot, she whispered. This is my home. Ethan reached for her hand. Maybe it doesn't have to be. Alara's fingers trembled. For the first time, real hesitation showed on her face. Then, alarms blared. The city trembled, and a deep, powerful voice echoed from above. Unauthorized activation detected. Cease immediately. Ethan turned. Shadows moved in the distance. The Sylphery had discovered them. Alara's eyes widened. They are coming. Ethan looked at the portal, then back at her. Alara, we have to go. Now. She took a step forward, then hesitated again. Do you trust me? Ethan asked desperately. The approaching figures moved faster. They would be here in seconds. Alara took a deep breath, then grabbed Ethan's hand. Yes. Together, they ran toward the portal. As they jumped through, the last thing Ethan saw was the golden city of Sylpharian disappearing into the distance. Then, everything went black. Darkness swallowed Ethan as he fell through the swirling vortex. The air around him hummed with energy, a force pulling him forward with unimaginable speed. His fingers tightened around Alara's hand. Then, in an instant, light. Ethan hit the ground hard, gasping for air. The world spun around him, and his vision blurred. His body ached, but he was alive. He took a deep breath, the scent of fresh earth and rain filling his lungs. This was not Sylpharian. He had made it. He was home. A new reality. Ethan pushed himself up, his hands pressing against damp grass. The sky above was dark, filled with thick clouds. The air was colder than he remembered. Beside him, Alara lay still, her silver hair spread out across the ground, her glowing skin dimmer than before. Alara. Ethan shook her gently. Are you okay? Her eyes fluttered open. For a moment, she looked lost. Then, her expression changed. Where are we? She whispered. Ethan stood up, scanning the surroundings. They were in the middle of a vast, ruined landscape. Broken buildings, shattered roads, and rusted vehicles stretched into the distance. Nature had begun reclaiming the land, vines creeping over metal, trees growing through concrete. Something was wrong. This wasn't the earth he remembered. Alara sat up slowly, her glowing eyes widening. Ethan, this world. Ethan swallowed hard. What happened here? Echoes of the past. They moved cautiously through the ruins, their footsteps echoing in the silence. The streets were abandoned. No signs of life. Ethan's heart pounded. This wasn't right. Earth wasn't supposed to be like this. He stopped at a rusted sign, wiping away the dirt. New York City. Welcome to the future. Ethan staggered back, his mind racing. This was New York. Alara touched the crumbling wall beside her. Time does not move the same way in Sylpharian. When we left, the world had already changed. Ethan's hands clenched into fists. How long? Alara hesitated. Then, softly, she said, centuries. A cold wave of fear crashed over him. Centuries. He had left Earth behind for what felt like only days. But here, time had passed without him. Everyone I knew, Ethan whispered. Gone. Alara placed a hand on his shoulder. I am sorry. But sorry wasn't enough. He had escaped Sylpharian to return to his world, to save his people from the Sylphery's control. But there was no one left to save. Or was there? The last signal. A flickering light caught Ethan's eye. In the distance, atop a broken tower, a single red light blinked slowly. A signal. Someone was still here. Ethan grabbed Alara's hand. Come on. We're not alone. They moved quickly through the ruins, climbing over debris and broken roads. The air was thick with dust, but Ethan's determination kept him moving. As they approached the tower, they saw something painted on the walls. If you are human, come inside. Ethan's breath caught. Someone was waiting for him. He stepped forward, pressing a hand against the metal door. It groaned open, revealing a dark passage leading downward. "Be careful," Alara warned. Ethan nodded and entered. The survivors. The underground bunker was dimly lit, the air thick with the scent of old machinery. The hum of generators filled the silence. Then, a voice echoed through the darkness. "Who are you?" Ethan turned sharply, his heart pounding. A group of figures emerged from the shadows. Humans, dressed in worn-out armor, their faces hardened by survival. They aimed weapons at him. "Wait," Ethan raised his hands. "I'm human. I'm from Earth." The leader, a woman with short-cropped hair and sharp eyes, stepped forward. She studied him carefully. "From Earth," she scoffed. "And I'm the Queen of Mars." Ethan shook his head. "I know it sounds crazy, but Then their eyes fell on Alara. One of the survivors gasped. "It's one of them." Guns clicked into position. Ethan stepped in front of Alara. "Wait, she's not our enemy." The leader narrowed her eyes. "Explain." "Now." Ethan took a deep breath. "I came from Siltharion. I was taken there, but I escaped. I didn't know centuries had passed." The survivors exchanged glances. "You expect us to believe that?" the leader asked. Alara stepped forward. "He speaks the truth. I am Silfari, but I came with him because I wanted to understand humanity." The woman studied them for a long moment. Then she lowered her gun. "If you're telling the truth, then you're either the luckiest fool on this planet," she said, "or you just became our only hope." Ethan frowned. "Hope for what?" She exhaled sharply. "To take back Earth. A war yet to be won." The leader introduced herself as Captain Mira Vasquez. She led Ethan and Alara deeper into the bunker, where dozens of survivors, men, women, even children, huddled together. Some looked weak, others exhausted, but all of them had the same fire in their eyes. "We've been fighting for years," Mira explained. "The Silfari didn't just abandon Earth. They left behind enforcers, machines, mind-controlled puppets, technology beyond anything we've seen." Ethan's hands tightened into fists. The Silfari never intended to let humanity be free. "You were in their world," Mira said. "You've seen their technology, their weaknesses." Ethan nodded slowly. "Then tell me," Mira said, her eyes locked onto his. "Can we win?" Ethan looked around at the faces of the survivors. Humans had been beaten, broken, but not defeated. And if there was one thing he knew about humanity, it was this: they never gave up. He turned back to Mira and said, "Yes, we can win." And this time, he wouldn't be alone. Ethan sat on a cold metal bench in the underground bunker, staring at the old map spread across the table. The survivors had marked key locations, enemy patrol routes, abandoned cities, and places where they had fought and lost. Earth was no longer the world he remembered. It was a battlefield. Captain Mira Vasquez stood across from him, arms crossed. "If what you say is true, if you really came from Siltharion, then you know how they think. We need that knowledge if we're going to win this war." Ethan took a deep breath. Their greatest strength is also their weakness. The Silfari don't understand chaos. They control everything, calculate everything. But humans, we don't always follow logic. Mira nodded. "That's what kept us alive." "But we need more than just survival," Ethan said firmly. "We need to fight back. A plan for war." The survivors gathered in the main hall. Their faces were tired, their clothes worn, but their eyes burned with determination. Ethan stood before them, Alara by his side. "I know some of you don't trust me," Ethan began. "And I know many of you don't trust her." He gestured toward Alara. Some murmurs rose from the crowd. A few people glared at the Silfari woman. "But listen to me," Ethan continued. "I was in their world. I saw how they live, how they think. They believe we're weak. They believe we're nothing but problems that need to be controlled. He looked around, meeting their eyes. But we're more than that. We're survivors, fighters, and if we strike where they least expect, we can win this war. Mira stepped forward. We have one chance. Their communication tower in the city sends orders to all the enforcers. If we take it down, their forces will be blind. We can move freely, strike where it hurts. A man in the crowd spoke up. And how do we do that? Their machines are faster, stronger. We don't have the firepower. Ethan turned to Alara. She took a deep breath, then stepped forward. I can disable the tower's security systems. It will be temporary, but it will give you enough time to plant explosives. More murmurs. Mira raised a hand for silence. It's risky. But if it works, we cripple their control. A young woman stood. I say we do it. It's time we stop running. The crowd erupted in agreement. Ethan felt hope stir inside him. This was it. Their first real fight. The infiltration. Night fell over the ruined city. Ethan, Alara, Mira, and a small team moved silently through the shadows. The massive communication tower loomed ahead, its lights glowing against the dark sky. Drones patrolled the area, scanning for movement. Ethan crouched behind a rusted car, watching their patterns. Alara placed a hand on a small device trapped to her wrist. I can disrupt the drones for a few minutes, but we must move fast. Mira gave a sharp nod. Do it. Alara pressed a button. Instantly, the drones flickered and stopped moving. Go, Mira whispered. They sprinted toward the tower's entrance. 2 guards stood in their way, humanoid figures with glowing blue eyes. Enforcers. Ethan knew these weren't real people. They were once human, but the Scifi had taken their minds, turning them into perfect soldiers. Mira didn't hesitate. She raised her weapon and fired. The first enforcer dropped. The second turned to react, but Ethan was faster. He slammed a metal pipe into its head, and it collapsed. They rushed inside. The tower's heart. Inside, the tower hummed with power. Massive screens displayed the movements of enemy forces, marking locations of every remaining human settlement. This is how they track us, Mira whispered. Alara moved quickly, her fingers dancing across a control panel. I'm disabling their defenses now. But once I do, they'll know we're here. Ethan turned to Mira. Plant the explosives. Mira and her team spread out, attaching charges to key points in the structure. Suddenly, alarms blared. They know, Alara shouted. The tower shook as enemy forces rushed in. Enforcers stormed through the doors, weapons raised. Hold them off, Mira yelled. Ethan grabbed a fallen enforcer's rifle and fired. The others did the same, gunfire echoing through the tower. Alara pressed a final button. It's done. Their network is shutting down. Mira activated the detonator. Then let's get out of here. The escape. They ran as explosions ripped through the tower. Fire and smoke filled the air. Outside, drones crashed from the sky, their control signals lost. Enforcers froze, no longer receiving orders. Mira looked up at the burning tower and let out a breath. We did it. Ethan turned to Alara. How long until the Scifi respond? She looked grim. Not long. They will come in force. Mira's expression hardened. Then we make our next move before they do. Ethan nodded. This is just the beginning. For the first time since returning to Earth, he felt something new. Hope. Smoke still rose from the ruins of the communication tower, glowing red against the dark sky. The city was silent for now, but Ethan knew the peace wouldn't last. The Scifi would come, and they would come in force. The gathering storm. Back at the underground bunker, Mira stood over a large table, maps and old screens spread before her. The survivors had gathered, their faces hardened with determination. Ethan leaned against the wall, arms crossed. How much time do we have? Alara's glowing eyes dimmed with concern. Less than a day. The Scifi will send their warships. They will try to crush the resistance before it spreads. Mira let out a sharp breath. Then we make our stand here. A murmur spread through the crowd. Some looked afraid, others ready for battle. Ethan stepped forward. Listen to me. We took down their tower, and for the first time in centuries. They are blind. This is our chance. We fight now, or we never fight again. A young man clenched his fists. We'll fight. Another woman nodded. We've survived this long. We won't stop now. Mira slammed a fist on the table. Then we prepare for war. The last defense. The survivors moved quickly, setting traps and barricades, turning old vehicles into makeshift weapons. Drones were reprogrammed to act as explosives, and hidden tunnels were rigged to collapse on command. Ethan stood beside Alara on the rooftop of a ruined skyscraper, looking at the distant horizon. Dark clouds gathered. But these weren't clouds. They're here, Alara whispered. Massive Scifi warships hovered above the city, sleek and silent. Below them, hundreds of enforcers marched like an unstoppable wave. Ethan exhaled sharply. Then let's show them what humans can do. The battle begins. The first blast struck the city with a deafening roar. Buildings crumbled as Scifi forces descended. Mira shouted into her radio, "Hold your positions." Survivors fired from hidden vantage points, sniper shots taking down enforcers before they could advance. Drones exploded in the air, sending enemy machines crashing to the ground. Ethan led a group through the streets, weaving between the rubble. He tossed a grenade, taking out a cluster of enforcers. Alara used her technology to disrupt enemy systems. They're recalibrating. But we have time. Mira's voice crackled through the radio. Pull back to the square. We make our final stand there. The heart of the battle. The survivors regrouped in the city's central plaza, surrounded by the towering ruins of the past. They had nowhere left to run. Above, a massive Scifi commander descended, its armor gleaming in the firelight. You should not have resisted. Its voice boomed, cold and emotionless. Surrender now, and we will be merciful. Ethan stepped forward, gripping his rifle. Merciful? You destroyed my world. You turned humans into slaves. We will never surrender. The commander's glowing eyes studied him. Then, with a simple wave of its hand, the final assault began. The last stand. The battle was brutal. The enforcers pushed forward, and the survivors fought with everything they had. Ethan fired until his weapon ran dry, then grabbed a fallen enemy's rifle and kept fighting. Mira took down enforcers with ruthless precision, leading her soldiers with unshakable resolve. Alara, standing at the heart of the battlefield, raised her hands. A pulse of energy exploded from her, disrupting the Scifi machines. Enforcers fell, their systems shutting down. But it wasn't enough. More enemy forces landed. The survivors were outnumbered. Then, Alara turned to Ethan, eyes filled with sorrow. There is only one way. She held up a small device. If I use this, I can disable their entire army, but it will take all my energy. Ethan's heart pounded. No, we'll find another way. Alara smiled sadly. You once chose to save my world. Now, I choose to save yours. She pressed the device. A brilliant wave of light burst from her, spreading across the battlefield. The Scifi ships faltered. The enforcers collapsed. The commander staggered, its body shutting down. The battle was over. But Alara fell. Ethan caught her in his arms. Her glow faded, her body cold. She looked up at him one last time. You must protect this world, Ethan. You must live. Then she was gone. Victory, but at a cost. The battlefield was silent. The Scifi forces were defeated, their warships lifeless. Mira knelt beside Ethan, looking at Alara's still form. She saved us all. Ethan swallowed the lump in his throat, eyes filled with grief. She was the best of them. Mira placed a hand on his shoulder. Now we rebuild. We make sure this never happens again." Ethan stood, looking at the ruined city. Humanity had won, and they would rise again.